So as we plugged the plant in, within a period of a few minutes, the plant started playing back to me what I was struggling to play down in the studio. It was playing the actual song I was trying to work on. So
All right, so I want to welcome to the podcast today a friend of mine from the old neighborhood, Steve Sciulli. Steve, welcome to Papamutes.
oh, it's great to be here on a Sunday early afternoon.
So, what is a botanical musician
Well,
in your description?
it's a word that I made up because I needed some sort of descriptive sentence when I sent people various things for bookings. Uh, but basically, I lately I've been trying to collaborate with other species, interspecies collaboration. Uh, One way to do that is with plants. So early on, about 6 or 7 years ago, I found a group of people who were able to develop a device that would read the electronic or the electrical signals that are generated naturally on on all living things, including plants. And these devices would measure the electrical signals as they move through the leaves and down through the roots, connecting a current and turn these electrical signals into MIDI, musical instrument digital interface, for musical instruments to understand. So from there, I can give them voices. The plants give me the signal, and I give them the voice in which to sing. But what I found out after early experimentation was that it's a true collaboration because whatever the plants were playing, I would pick up a flute or an instrument, a synthesizer, or whatever instrument I had lying around, and I would perform with them. And I found that the plants were actually listening and offering harmonies, offering space. I would offer the plant some space to develop motifs or themes, and then I would accompany it, and the plant would come back with a harmony to whatever I was playing, or if it wanted to take a lead line, I would become familiar enough with its little signals that it wanted to take a solo. So a botanical musician is two things: one that plays music with plants, or the plant itself as it's playing the music.
So, what are you attaching to the plants? In other
Well,
words,
I try.
what are you coming out of, and what are you attaching to the
Well, I have
actual plant?
several devices. The one I was trying to get to work today comes from an experimental uh, community, Domifer in Italy. They've been developing plant sensors since the 1970s.
Cool.
I have others that come from California and others that come from Philadelphia. But this was the one I was going to use today, but the plants aren't speaking. So basically, I don't know if you could see this or not, but I'll pull these out. And this goes
Okay.
into the root of the plant, touches the root, and the clip touches the leaf.
Kind of like a prong for people who are
It
listening,
is.
not seeing yet.
It is.
Like a prong. Okay.
And other devices use little sticky pads that go directly on the leaves. So it all depends on the device. Uh, but the interesting thing, of course, is uh, manipulating the sound and listening to the harmonics and listening to the little subtle differences that the plants develop. Uh, it's also, I found, it's kind of in a way curious because when we started with the plants, a little background on it. I
Hmm.
had the device for a number of weeks before I jumped into it. I had to prioritize because I was working on an album at the time. The album was called "High in the Mountain," and one song I was working on was called "Driftwood Maps." And on that particular album, I decided to play every instrument, even if I've never touched the instrument before. So I would either buy, borrow, or rent an instrument. An example would be a banjo or a mandolin or an
Okay.
instrument of that nature. So one song in particular, Driftwood Maps, was really difficult for me to play on instruments I've never played before. So it took a couple of days of trying to come up with how to perform the lead motif. Uh, at one point, I got so frustrated, I decided to turn the gear off and just go chill out. And that's when I noticed, oh, I have the plant thing sitting there. Let me listen to the plants, and maybe that'll just help me drift off a little bit and come up with ways to do what I needed to do. So as we plugged the plant in, within a period of a few minutes, the plant started playing back to me what I was struggling to play down in the studio. It was playing the actual song I was trying to work on. So at that point, I realized, oh, geez, this thing is listening, and it's communicating. It's trying to shake my hand to tell me that it's indeed listening to me. That was both a revelation as well as frightening because I realized at that point that the plants are always listening. It's never passive. It's always something that's offering feedback whether we hear it or not. So at that point, I decided to leave the plants on for a number of hours, including into the night. And as the Earth rotated into evening, you could hear the differences in the textures and the speed in which the plant was corresponding. Even simple things like cloud cover over the sun made a massive difference in what we were listening to. If I was in the back room and I heard a change in the modality or the melodic structure, uh, I realized that the dog just walked into the room where the plants were, and the plants were reacting to another entity in the room. So
Now, are
it's a
you, excuse me, for, are you,
no,
when you say the plants are talking or making sounds or what have you, where is it coming from? Is it coming out of the plant? How are you hearing it? Is it through the
right. That's
speakers,
what I
through the
said.
plant?
Right. The plant is offering me the electrical signal,
Okay.
meaning note on, duration of the note, note
Okay.
off. But this device will offer something very basic in which what the plant is actually hearing. But to me, it offers there's no coloration or so it offers a kind of sonic fatigue after a while.
Mhm.
So you can also hook it in via MIDI. So at that point, it can go into any type of musical instrument that offers MIDI, like software-based synthesizers or pretty much anything these days.
Okay.
Uh, and so at that point, you could give it choices to what it wants to play. Uh, Usually you can't fight the plant. So if I give it a sound that that I think is pleasant and I want to hear, and the plant doesn't want to play it, uh, well, then I have to switch voices until I find something that the plant finds more enjoyable to interact with.
Now, would
What?
someone else be able to hear that? Like,
Oh
or
yeah,
is it
yeah, yeah,
just, I
yeah.
mean, like a non-musician, would they be able to hear this plant's vibration, so to speak, or
Of course,
sounds?
it's like another any other musician sitting there playing music. It's coming through an amplifier or it's coming through
Okay.
headphones.
Okay.
It's. I go more towards leaning towards using this sound as a form of stress reduction and meditation and relaxation. So a typical uh, plant uh, plant session, Secret Life of Plant concert would be people lying on yoga mats with lights down or maybe a few candles lit, and the plants hooked up going through an amplification unit, and it's in stereo, so it can self pan and.
Hmm.
Since it's the plants become their own GPS device, it all of course depends on time of day and other geological things that are happening.
And there was a situation where the first time you incorporated it, I believe it was in Bloomfield, where the pot or the plant fell
Oh
off
yeah,
your
yeah.
seat,
Oh
and
my God.
you finally got to the gig, and the
Oh yeah,
plant was screaming. Now,
yeah.
when you say screaming, like out of the speakers, so the people were hearing
Yeah,
this, or
well,
were
you
you
got to
hearing
understand this was at Howler's on Liberty Avenue,
it?
which is
Right.
gone now, but yeah, it was in Bloomfield.
Okay.
Uh, they have a full, they had a full rock and roll PA setup, that's able to handle loud
Hmm.
music.
Sure.
And here I had the plant going through it. So when I'm saying it's screaming, it literally was shaking the walls of the place
Really?
at high frequency. That was uncomfortable. But I found as soon as I walked around to where the bar was, in other words, out of sight of the plant started calming down. It started like catching its breath in a way and slowing its own internal heartbeat down until it got to a point of being almost watercolorish textures. And at that point, I would walk around to be visible again, to walk into the room where the plant was, and it would start screaming again. It fell on. I stopped short on my way to the gig, and the plant fell onto the floor of the car, and I'm at the stop sign, and trying to shove all the dirt back into the plant, yelling at it, saying, not on my watch. You don't, you're not going to be pulling a Keith Richards on me. You pull yourself together. We got a show to do. But having said that, at the end of the day, the plant has no bar tab. So,
That's that is true. Now the people at this place at that time, were they hearing this noise? Were they hearing
oh my
this?
goodness, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Did you
Uh,
explain to them the situation? I mean, it would be kind
no,
of strange. I mean, I
yeah,
don't
I
know.
don't. I try not to explain too much because
Okay.
people will have their interpretation, and every interpretation is somewhat valid. Uh,
Right.
but after a while, the plant started calming down. And I realized that, okay, this is a rock and roll club. This is not a yoga studio. So I slowly walked towards the plant with a lighter and a pair of scissors. And the plant can sense your intention.
Hmm.
Early on, with the experiments of plants and plant consciousness, they were using plants as a form of lie detector. The plants could tell when
Really?
people were lying. There's a wonderful book
Wow.
called The Secret Life of Plants, came out in the 1970s, and it was written by an ex IBM scientist, and his work with plants and signal. And but my point is, the 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 plants sensed that perhaps I was going to do it harm. So as I walked up to the plants with the scissors, everyone in the audience was yelling, "Don't do it! Don't cut the plant! Don't cut the plant!"
Really?
So
Wow.
ended up did cutting a leaf off the plant, and the plant went dead silent. And I realized, okay, this is the end of the show. Uh, but curiously enough, uh, several people from the audience came up and they were arguing who was going to get the leaf that I cut. And I eventually gave it to a person, and it was like the plant had groupies. So,
Wow. So, have you ever tried to attach it to marijuana plant and see what kind of vibes you got off that?
I'd rather not answer that.
All right. So, what about some people that might say this sounds really bizarre,
Hmm.
and they're skeptical? I'm not one of them. I'm all in, but
Yeah, whatever,
I mean,
whatever. You know,
whatever. I mean,
I look
just
at it
that,
this
if they
way.
either they get it or they don't, welcome, right?
I'm a musician.
Hmm.
I've worked in a number of scenarios. I've been a musician all of my adult life. Uh,
Since car
Ultimately,
sickness,
in Carsickness, Plowman's Lunch,
car
Life
sickness,
in Balance.
that was the greatest band
Yeah,
name. I remember that, car
yeah.
sickness. That was classic.
Well,
Um,
that was put together in the late '70s during
oh,
the gas crunch, during the gas crisis, and people were personifying their cars so much at the time. We realized, this, and also, there was a band called the Cars, which I didn't like that much back then.
right.
So.
But no, I remember. I mean, now just to backtrack a little, are those people you still in touch with the band
Yeah,
members?
good question. Yeah, we are. I have a band with the drummer Dennis Childers called Standing Wave, and so at this point we've been playing music together for over 40 years. So there's an unspoken there's something unspoken that goes deeper than music when we play. And Carl Mullen, the lead singer and chief songwriter, has gotten together with us again, and we're rehearsing new songs. The first time in goodness, I don't even know, over 35 years.
Hmm,
Uh,
nice.
and we're going to go into the studio and record a new album. Hopefully, it'll be out late summer.
Cool.
All new material that reflects where we are today in the world, and so it's going to be it's going to be interesting. And I'm also personally working on my own album right now. So, but
Nice.
what were we talking about?
Skeptics, but we can
Oh
either.
no. So that's a good question because ultimately it has to be good music. It has to be
Sure.
something. I'm somewhat of a music snob, so it has to be something that I want to listen to.
Exactly.
Uh, if it's not then it's not working. I unplug things and try again some other time. But ultimately, my goal for anything that I do, any project I do, is used to be that if I was walking down the avenue and I heard the stuff coming out of a club or a space somewhere or a bar, would I want to go in?
Lose
It has,
bar.
yeah. Well, it has to. It has to make me happy as a musician first
Yeah,
and
yeah.
foremost. So even if you're skeptical and you don't believe in any of this stuff, it still better be good music because even if you don't believe it, maybe you'll like the music. So relax, just and enjoy the sounds.
I mean, I listened to some of your YouTube stuff and I was in a
Cool.
trance. I was like, yeah, the water in the background. It was awesome. It was great.
uh,
Now, how
yeah.
far have you traveled to play music? Not just with
Yeah.
plants, but just from car sickness till now.
Oh my goodness! With Carsickness, I was on the road for 18 years, living in a van, traveling from city to city, sleeping on floors. But it was great. We were young, and
I know
we were
the good old
pirates.
days.
And, yeah, we were like sailors going from port to port. Uh, l- Later on, I had a duo with a woman who played quartz crystal singing bowls, and I focused mainly on enhanced Japanese shakuhachi. Uh, and we played all over the country, from everywhere from Key West to Anchorage, Alaska,
Really?
and everywhere in between. So we were on the road with that for another easily 11 years,
Wow.
uh, and it was interesting. At some point, we'll sit down and I'll tell you about my observations on all that. But
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you play multiple instruments. How many can you play? Some of
uh,
them I can't pronounce because I looked up some information. I was like,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah. I always say that I play whatever the song needs, but it's a blessing and a curse because let's say a guitarist, they know their instrument and they become comfortable with it, and over the years they become really good on their instrument. When you're playing a lot of instruments, my thing is I always want to remain a beginner on instruments because there's at that point there's no boundaries and there's no limitations because you don't know what's right or wrong. There's no muscle memory, so you don't repeat things.
mhm,
Everything is brand new. It's wide open vistas, and the horizon is never close. So when you're newer on an instrument, that's when it's most fun. Uh, but having said that, probably my main instrument is synthesizer, since I've been playing synthesizer since the early 70s, followed by the flutes, world flutes, and dobro, which is like a lap steel guitar.
okay,
I
wow,
try to focus on instruments that are microtonal, instruments that can and have the possibility of sliding between the notes. Uh, because usually, if you look at music as a healing modality, almost in all cultures, it involves the notes between the notes, not as opposed to the Western culture, which is note on, note off, maybe a half step up, half step, or a full step up.
okay,
And mathematically, there's some issues with that, but that's why I prefer microtonal. And having said that, I recently got involved with modular synthesis,
Hmm.
and this is offering a whole new set of joys and dilemmas, mainly
Hmm.
because when you spend time creating a patch, meaning you get a patch cord and you plug this in into this and then add into that, and you could spend a month, or a couple days or whatever, a couple hours, and you come up with a sound that you really enjoy. But in order to move on, you have to destroy that sound. So it's like you want to live with that sound as long as possible, but at the same time, you need to create other sounds. So I liken it to Tibetan sand mandala people, monks, who spend better part of a month or so creating these elaborate mandalas made out of sand. But then at the end of it, they blow it all away. They sweep it
Wow.
up. It no longer exists.
Hmm.
And so it's that type, perhaps not that deep as intricacies, but I seem to think of it in the same ways.
Hmm. So if you could hypothetically take a different profession outside of music, outside of plants, what would it be?
Psychic ventriloquist. I, I,
Wait, I gotta wash this down with some beer. Hold
I like the idea.
on.
I tried this out actually. I got the psychic part down, but the ventriloquism was a little difficult. I bought a
Sure.
ventriloquist album on vinyl, but I got it at Goodwill and had a lot of skips and stuff. So my ventriloquist doll developed a stutter. I mean, can you imagine like being at a place, a club, and the ventriloquist doll was up there, and it's telling you really personal stuff about your carburetor and your truck,
Mhm.
or you better get that extended warranty. Uh,
I get those calls every day.
yeah, exactly.
I'm going to give you a celebrity, and you just tell me if you think they're dead or alive.
Okay, first off, I don't follow popular culture that much.
I think you'll recognize these names.
Well, my stuff is even my stuff is so obscure that I've only just discovered me 2 days ago.
Well, let's give it a shot. Let's give it a shot. I think you'll recognize these names. And this is not. I'm not trying to stump you. I just do it for fun. So here we go. Dead or alive? Frank Zappa.
Dead.
Dead as a doornail. Yeah. Since '93 exactly. Alice Cooper
Just had his birthday yesterday. Yes, he's alive.
is alive. Iggy Pop.
Iggy Pop, shirted or unshirted, definitely alive.
He's alive. Yes. Tom Savini.
Definitely alive.
Are you
Oh my,
sure?
yes, 100%. Oh, well, yeah, that's a good question. That's a trick question, isn't it?
That is a trick question. Uh, Michael Nesmith of the Monkees.
Yeah. Rest in peace, Michael.
Yes. Charlie Watts. That's a no
Rest
brainer.
in peace, Charlie.
I'll throw you a little curveball. Actually, you should know this one. Rocky Blyer, football running back, Steelers.
I have a sweatshirt of his. Yeah, if he's still alive, I got to get it back to him. Uh,
You got a 50
you know,
50
I,
shot.
yeah.
What's your gut instinct? Rocky Blyer, 70, Super Bowl, Steelers, the whole 9 yards.
Steelers, huh? 70s, dead, dead.
No, he's alive.
Oh, okay.
Poor Rocky. Oh,
I don't know.
Burt Reynolds, actor.
No, dead. Rest,
Dead.
definitely.
Debbie Harry, Blondie.
No, definitely alive.
You're on top of that. Two more. Joe Namath, famous football player.
Oh yeah, I just saw him on. He's on Me TV all the time, pitching something. He's alive.
Like 100 years old.
Yeah.
And Pittsburgh. I think he's from Pittsburgh, actually. And another Pittsburgh boy, last one, Michael Keaton, actor.
Oh, he's absolutely alive.
All right, you blew right through that.
Yeah,
Well,
except
yeah,
for I have no
except
concept
for
of
Rocky.
sport.
Except for Rocky Blyer. That's okay. Don't
I have no sport.
worry. All right, this might be a little tough. This one's called Celebrity Nicknames. Okay, I'm going to give you a nickname. You try to tell me who it is. Now
Okay.
I'll give you a little heads up.
All
No
right.
pressure here, no pressure. This is a sports celebrity, retired Pops, Pittsburgh sports, baseball. I know you know it, you just can't.
Jimmy, I don't know.
Baseball,
Jimmy Durante.
Pops.
No, I
No,
don't. I don't know.
Willie Stargell.
Where do you start? I don't know.
That's okay. We forgive you for your sins. Sultan of Splatter.
Oh, George Romero.
Close.
Uh,
He was in the
Savini.
previous. He was in the previous segment.
Savini.
Yes, I'm sorry. The chairman of the board,
Chairman of the board. Frank
musician
Sinatra.
Frank Sinatra. Now I don't know. You might not get this one. The Fab Four.
The prefab four. Yeah, right.
I need an answer. I can't
Oh,
assume.
geez. Uh, the Beatles. Come
The
on.
Beatles. There you go.
The Beatles.
The Beatles. The Man in Black,
Yeah,
musician
yeah. Johnny.
Johnny Cash. Hi, I'm Johnny Cash.
Hello.
Slow hand.
Oh, yeah. Well, we won't go there.
Oh,
Uh, Clapton.
yes. You don't like him?
No, he's boring.
Interesting. Last
His,
one.
his music's boring.
Here's the last one. I don't think you'll find him boring. The Lizard King.
Yeah, I know who it is. And
I need a name. Come on.
okay, I'm gonna give you a name, and you use it as an anagram to
Okay.
figure out his real name, Mr. Mojo Rising.
There you go. Correct, Jim Morrison. Doing good. Doing well. All right, here we go. Last fun segment. I appreciate you coming along. These are celebrity real names. I'm going to give you the real name of the person, and this is multiple choice, so you have a couple choices.
You're
There we
funny.
go.
You're funny.
Who was born Courtney Michelle Harrison? Was that Courtney Love, Courtney Cox, or Cher? Courtney Michelle Harrison. Courtney Love, Courtney
I
Cox, or
wouldn't know.
Cher? Take a
You know,
guess. Take a guess.
it's almost like the other two Courtneys are obvious choices. So you go with the one that's so far out that perhaps you, you, it's designed to throw you. So I'm going to say Cher.
No, it's
All right.
Courtney Love.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
There you go. All right, now here's one, and I might butcher this name, Farouk Bolsara. I might be saying it wrong, but is it Fred Sanford, Freddie Mercury, or Jackie Chan? Farouk
Okay.
Bolsara.
Freddie Mercury.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Paul David Hewson. Hewson. Again, I might be butchering it. Paul David
Bono.
Hewson. Correct. Didn't even need the. It's on fire.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
for
will
me.
swallow, or whatever that song was.
Two more. Vincent Damon Bernier. Is that Vincent Price, Vince Vaughn, or Alice Cooper?
Oh, what was the last name?
Bernier. F
Yeah,
U R.
yeah.
The Coop Man. Yeah.
Alice. Yeah.
All right. Last one. David Van Cortlandt. Before I give you the three names, David Van Cortlandt, musician. Is that? Oh, actually, I fucked that up. I just gave you the answer.
Oh,
If I give you the multiple choice, I'm going to give you the answer.
It was simple, Papa Mute.
David Crosby, David Spade, or David Hasselhoff.
What's his real name?
David Van Cortlandt.
What was the choices?
David
We know it's not
Crosby.
David Crosby. So, all right.
It is David Crosby.
It is David Crosby.
Yes.
Why
Yes.
is that?
I don't know. I never knew that, but
So what was the Von?
David Van Cortlandt. He was
So
born David Van Cortlandt, changed his name to David Crosby.
Van Cortlandt, Stills, Nash, and Young.
Yeah, doesn't work.
That's a lot of words. That's like a law firm.
Do you have, this is just a hypothetical, a celebrity crush? Yeah, like somebody
Oh, you're
who's,
asking me?
yeah, yeah. Who would that
Well,
be?
yeah, well, I no, I can't say that I do, but there are musicians that I admire
I mean, it
totally.
could be a man crush. Like I man
Yeah,
crush on
like like
Sylvester
Brian Eno.
Stallone.
I admire
But
his thinking and how he theorizes about broad concepts. Uh, I appreciate people like George Harrison, who in the center of the storm could remain calm and become observant. Uh, but I work at such a frequency, let's say, that I am self-informing myself as I go on. I'm influencing my my future self is influencing my current self, let's say, and I everything that I do becomes iconic and then lost into the jumble within a matter of milliseconds.
makes sense to me.
I'm joking, right?
Now, I read a quote at the end of an article that I think it was Pittsburgh. It was a paper or an online thing. Anyway, I wanted to know if it's your quote. It says, "You can only grasp change by
By
the
the rate.
rate in which you experience it." Is that your quote, or is that someone you quoting someone else? I liked it. I just was curious.
No, it's probably my quote, or I adapted it from something, but it
Mhm,
sounds like something I would say. But it's so true. I mean, yeah, you can only grasp change by the rate in which your ability is to understand it,
mhm.
or else it's just it's confusion, and you dismiss it. So that's what we're looking at, even with the plant music and things. There's a liminal consciousness shift in a general sense, in a sense of mass consciousness shift. These things happen sometimes generationally, sometimes in hundreds of years. But we think in terms
Mhm.
of music and how it's representative of the culture in which we live in. So as soon as well, first off, all history is represented, I think, technologically by its musical instruments. The instruments usually lead the way in technology, and then it's filtered through and other things. Uh, so with plant music, all of a sudden it opens people's minds to, hey, these things are alive. Hey, maybe I don't want to cut this tree down. Maybe I don't want to. Maybe I should pay attention to climate change. It can open the mind to bigger topics that weren't relevant before you heard plants sing, and so all of a sudden you're able to grasp a concept that you didn't even know existed before it. So it's that kind of thinking. It's called liminal. So it's where you reach a limit, and then you push against it and go beyond it, and then you look back at what you didn't understand beforehand. And it's just a question of now that I'm a bit older, I realize I can say no to things as well as yes.
Exactly. Exactly. Steve, it's been great. Glad you came
Oh,
on. I'd like to have you on again sometime, maybe in
yes,
person.
let's do some plant music next time.
Yeah,
I tried to hook this up today for you, but I
that's
was having
okay.
difficulty.
Yeah,
But let's
no,
uh, let's let's do a little plant segment where we can actually physically hear the plants. And but
definitely.
anyways, yeah, go to the Facebook page, Steve Sciulli Singing Life of Plants, and or just Steve Sciulli, and
Hmm.
find out where I'll be doing this. I'll be doing some Zoom shows as well as some live shows starting in April. There's a lot happening. There's a lot to take in, and thanks for having me. And we'll uh,
We'll
we'll
talk soon.
continue this. Yeah,
All right, Steve. Take care, buddy.
you bet.